So this is a short film which is going to be about staircases in cinema and how they're used, and how indeed the staircase is used in the theatre. Because it's always a metaphor for something else. It's always a dramatic moment because you've got height and you've got people moving from above down below, or vice versa. Tremendously powerful image, a staircase. You can think of Hello Dolly, for example. And first of all, I had a look at the latest Mary Poppins preview, and I made a short film about that last night, and I will give you my reaction to that. In fact, I'll give you that here. So we'll edit that into this film.
I received a call from Rob Marshall, and he left a very ceremonious, quite charged voicemail on my phone saying I had to call him. I was like, oh God, what is it? And he pitched me the idea of doing a sequel to Mary Poppins, and they wanted to do it with me, so I was blown away by the whole idea of it.
Mary Poppins was what opened my mind up in the world up to movies and magic and music. So doing a sequel to Mary Poppins, the first thing you think is gulp. But then you realize that there were 8 books altogether. There was a real sense that there's so much more story to be told.
It's really exciting. I mean, the chance to explore that world even more in this new original story with incredible, enchanting original music.
How'd you do that?
Do what?
It was pretty clear there was no one else that could play this role as brilliantly as Emily Blunt.
What brings you here after all this time?
Same thing that brought me the first time. I've come to look after the Banks children.
Us?
Oh yes, you too.
It's so wonderful, the soul of the movie. It's about the power of the imagination.
There's a real sense that we're part of something very special.
We all cared so deeply about the project because this is a film with great hope and spectacle, and it's moving. So I think it's a very important film to be making right now. Are we ready?
Ready.
So there you can see my response last night to the latest Mary Poppins preview. I think it's tremendous. I'm terribly excited about seeing this film after December the 19th. Now, back to the idea of staircases. Staircases represent so many things in cinema. They represent power. We can think, for example, of the Jack Higgins scene in the 1956 film of Ben-Hur. Jack Higgins, as a centurion, arrives in Rome with Ben-Hur at his side and a chariot in the chariot as part of the presentation to the emperor, and he ascends the staircase. And at one moment, you've got a scene of Higgins on his own on this magnificently big staircase with the emperor right up at the top. Power. They represent goals. We can think of An American in Paris, that theatrical moment where the fellow's singing, "I'll build a stairway to paradise," and going up and down the stairs. You can also think of Rocky. They're an obstacle or a goal. Particularly famous is the Powell and Pressburger film, Matter of Life and Death, where the stairway represents a passage between heaven and hell. It's in black and white. A tremendous moment. You can think of the staircase in the 1953 film, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where Marilyn Monroe is singing "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend," that red carpeted staircase. And of course, in that film, all her high notes were vocalized by Marnie Nixon, the great ghost vocalist who turns up again in My Fair Lady and The King and I, and only appears as herself as a nun in The Sound of Music. But here, in musicals, of course, stairways are also a sort of metaphor of the musical scale. You can think of The Untouchables, the Kevin Costner film in 1984, which is really a recreation of a scene from 1925 in Battleship Potemkin. Now, this scene, Eisenstein's scene, never actually happened. The story is based on a historical event, which of course is the anniversary was at the beginning of this month in November, because 17th of October, of course, would have been according to the Julian calendar, not the Gregorian calendar, so it occurs 13 days late. And the scene on the staircase is not a historical fact, but it's a metaphor about power. And you've got the and with the Untouchables, of course, you've got that great moment with the pram. And what does this represent? This represents Brian De Palma probably is trying to show us the violence and at the same time the attempt that Eliot Ness is making to protect the people. If we go back to Rob Marshall, who is directing Mary Poppins 2, he also directed, or he also choreographed Victor Victoria. And in that you've got this amazing staircase at the end where Julie Andrews appears at the top and then walks down. But all of this, the theatrical use of the staircase, is of course present in every British pantomime for that walk down moment. And you've got the same walk down moment, incidentally, in Liza Minnelli in 1977 in the film New York, New York. And particularly at the end sequence of the film, which is being shown on screen, which Robert De Niro is watching. It's a sequence called Happy Endings, and it was edited from the first run of the film, but it's back in the 1981 version, and that as well references 42nd Street and this amazing staircase filled with dancers. I personally remember a rather wonderful scene in a film called Subway, where we first see Isabella Adjani coming down a staircase in Subway, a film by Luc Besson. Anyway, back to the earlier films. Hitchcock, Vertigo, 1958. Here you've got Jimmy Stewart pursuing Kim Novak. And all that stuff around the staircase in the church. Staircases there indicating tension. But here's the rule. The rule is, in theatre, you increase drama with height. In film, you increase drama with width. So the CinemaScope screen, of course, is significantly more dramatic than the more restricted screens. Now, the moving staircase and the camera moving towards or away from the staircase adds another element of cinematic drama. The staircase, therefore, is both cinematic and theatrical. Wondrously, I think, in Mary Poppins Returns, it seems to be there as a tribute to 42nd Street, as a tribute to Victor Victoria, and also I think Rob Marshall would not be unaware of the wonderful way in which a staircase was used by the Nicholas brothers. So there we are. Staircases, Mary Poppins 2. Thank you very much.